Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about C-section scars. If you don't know, if you haven't seen my previous videos, I myself have had a C-section, and something that's really important is keeping that scar mobile. So we're going to talk a little bit about maybe why we want to do that, how we can massage it to keep it mobile. But before we do that, we need to jump into a little bit of the nitty-gritty, a little bit of those anatomical terms so that we understand. So the first thing we need to understand is fascia. So what is fascia? It's this spider web-like material that covers all of your muscles and your organs, and it is all connected. The fascia at your head is connected to the fascia at your toes. It's all connected, web-like, all around those muscles and those organs. So how does that relate to a C-section scar? So as I'm sure you can imagine, if we cut through that fascia, like we do when we have a C-section or any surgery, and then we stitch it all together, we have that scar tissue there, it kind of gets rid of that elasticity of the fascia in that area. So it's just like if you were to take a piece of elastic and you cut it and then you sew it together, that little area right there is not going to be as stretchy as it was before it was cut. And this can cause issues with the fascia elsewhere in the body. Like I mentioned, it's all connected. So actually, if you have an issue with, your fascia in your foot, it can affect maybe your fascia somewhere further along in your neck or even your shoulders. So when it comes to scar mobility and why we're concerned about it, is because we want to keep that fascia elastic. But specifically C-section scarring, we want to keep the fascia in that area elastic because it can lead to postural issues, can lead to pelvic floor issues, it can lead to fertility issues, digestion problems. It can just cause a lot of issues, especially when it comes to adhesions. Adhesions, if you don't know, are any abnormal joinings of fibrous tissues inside of the body. So it's like a fibrous band, and this is caused usually by injury or inflammation, specifically like a C-section cut. You can have adhesions going from maybe like your uterus to your intestines and vice versa. It can just really be a mess in there, to be completely honest. And that's what's gonna cause those issues with your fertility, your posture, or even your digestion and your pelvic floor function. Think of it as like internal scar tissue, basically, is what it is. So what happens if I had a C-section years ago? Is it too late to do any sort of good work on that scar? It's absolutely not too late. So I will be honest, you do want to start sooner rather than later. But you can absolutely always improve your scar mobility. Even if you had a baby years and years and years ago, you had your C-section years ago, you can always improve that scar mobility. You can always return some of that elasticity to your fascia. You should not think that surgery to correct those adhesions is the only option. You can absolutely, make some improvements. Of course, always talk to your doctor, but you can make those improvements. So when can you start massaging your scar? Generally about 8 weeks post-op is when you can start massaging your scar. However, of course, if your scar tissue is open, if your scar has not healed completely, or you've had any sort of issues with healing, then you want to wait until it's completely healed. And I do know that sometimes, mine wasn't, but sometimes your scar can be very sensitive to the touch at first. I know that this is a problem for a lot of moms, and it's not just at first, sometimes it can be sensitive for years. And so part of the massage process is desensitization. So how do we do that? So when we first start our massage, I'm going to show you in a second how I do it, but I'm just going to give you kind of the verbal lowdown before we get there. When you first start your massage, you want to work about 2 to 3 inches around the scar. So we're not working directly on it, we're just working around it. And eventually, as you progress, you want to go closer until you are able to work on that scar. That's going to slowly lead you to desensitization. Now, if you get to the part where you're working directly on your scar and it still feels sensitive, you can absolutely do it through fabric. You can use a tissue, you can do it through your leggings, through your underwear, what have you. You don't have to touch it directly. I personally like to do mine directly on my scar. However, I'm not going to be showing my scar in the video today because mine is a little scandalously low. If I showed it, I'd have to post this video on a completely different website. So I will not be showing mine. But I'm going to be working through the fabric today to show you mine in just a second. So please excuse my jump cut here, but I have to get in position, and I'm sure you don't want to see me try to find the right angle with my camera for about 20 minutes. So I will see you in just a second down on the floor. All right, so here I am laying on the floor. I'm on my back with my knees bent. You always want to do this with your knees bent, because with your legs straight, it adds just a little too much tautness to the area. We can't quite as manipulate it as easily as we could if our knees were bent. So my belly button is right about here, and then my C-section scar is pretty low, like I mentioned. Mine is right about here. Obviously, you massage wherever your scar is. So we want to use about 2 or 3 fingers, and then we're just going to go ahead and start in a circular motion here. So you can press as hard as you'd like, as little pressure as you like. It's totally fine too, whatever feels comfortable for you. Just moving in a circular motion down along my scar. I like to go ahead and reverse directions a couple times here. All in all, I'd say I spend maybe about 5 minutes every night before I go to bed massaging my scar. I'll just do kind of the abridged version for you guys. And now we want to go ahead and just go horizontally here, just side to side. And this totally works whether you have a horizontal or a vertical C-section scar. You want to do just the exact same thing, just in the same direction of that scar. And then we're going to go vertically. So we're going to be pressing up and down kind of in this motion. And as you're going along, if you find any areas that feel tight or they feel hard, like there's just a little extra something there, there's some resistance, by all means, spend a little extra time working those areas out. And then the last thing we want to do is our really deep tissue massage. This is going to get it at a deep organ level. So we just go ahead, take our hands, kind of this little cupping position here, and you just want to press. And like I mentioned, it can take a little while. I use my thumbs as well. It can take a little while to work up to this point. If at any point any of this makes you feel uncomfortable or even maybe a little nauseous, absolutely stop and just take your time working up to this. And that is it. That is all that I do, about 5 minutes every night right before bed. I'm gonna go ahead and come on up. All right, and that is all. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I think this might be the last video in the postpartum series, but I could always be lying. I could always be wrong. I might want to do more. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, if this was helpful, by all means, please leave me a thumbs up or a like. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe, hit that bell, and I will see you guys later this week. Bye.